So welcome to the 6th 2021 webinar, being part of the Enabling the Adaptive and Agile Organization with AEquacy webinar series. And today we'll explore what makes it difficult to spread an innovation mindset and what is needed to build an environment that enhance innovation. If you were to look at the organizations that truly stand out from the pack today as clear leaders within their industries, it would be clear that they all have one common factor. They all embrace innovation. So these innovative leaders include relatively new organizations such as, I don't know, like Uber or Amazon, which changed processes at the core of their industries in order to disrupt the status quo. As well as stalwarts like Microsoft and Apple, which have been around for decades, but owe their continued success to constant reinvention and innovation. And yet, no matter its industry or current standing, an organization cannot expect to maintain a competitive edge if innovation is not part of the overall business strategy. Now, most companies understand the importance of innovation, but fall short when it comes to execution. So according to McKinsey, 80% of executives think that their current business models are at risk to be disrupted in the near future. And in addition, 84% of executives say that innovation is important to their growth strategy. However, only 6% of executives are satisfied with their innovation performance. So innovation is a key part of owning a successful business, and it can help a company do many things, but three things in particular. First of all, grow the business. Successful innovation allows organizations to add value to their business so that they can increase their profits. Then help organizations stay ahead of the competition. So with globalization and a rapidly changing market, there are more competing businesses than ever before. So innovative thinking can help you predict the market and keep up with customer needs. And if your business doesn't innovate, you will watch innovative companies bring new ideas to the marketplace, and you will have to scramble to keep up. And the third piece is help organizations take advantage of new technologies. The technology, and especially artificial intelligence, is evolving faster than ever before, which means that there may be new and more efficient technologies to make better products, better services, or to track performance with analytics. And by taking advantage of these new technologies for process innovation, organizations are able to optimize their business and gain a competitive advantage over their competitors. Now, the definition of innovation, well, innovation is very hard to define. It means different things to different people. And despite this definition from Howard Schultz, in reality, I think that innovation exists along a continuum from material improvements to existing products or processes, all the way to the rare disruptive innovation. And so for our purposes, let's define innovation as a big new for a business or a big different in how the business operates. Okay, now I make my initial introduction, and now let's have a conversation around what supports our innovative ideas, our own innovative ideas. What do we need? Where do we need to be? What is conducive to innovation for each of us? And also what, in general, blocks innovation, especially inside organizations. So in 1 minute, we will send you into breakout room, as we generally do, to discuss in subgroups those questions. And please make sure that you briefly introduce yourself at the start. You have 10 minutes. And when it's time to come back, you will see a signal that says that the breakout room is closing. Welcome back. So, what has emerged from your discussion? Anything interesting? Please feel free to share. And if you are not, you don't feel, familiar with English, or you don't want to speak in English, you can speak in Italian.
I go volunteer.
Yes, vai Maria.
No, I have been appointed by the group because I said I speak English not very well, but I think able to summarize.
Official speaker.
To summarize the group, me, Cristina, and Paola discussed about our different experience, professional experience that led us to face innovation personally, so changing, let's say, the role, becoming a consultant or a coach, etc. And we discussed about the blocks, what can block the innovation personally. Clearly, in the majority of cases, could be the fear of changing. But on the other side, we noticed that as a female, in a certain way, we are more familiar with innovating ourselves, regardless if it's difficult or not. While in organization, we think that there is the need of a cultural change in order to really appreciate innovation, in the sense that there are a lot of, let's say, leaders declaring they want to innovate, but even if we are talking about fintech or IT companies, as in the experience of Cristina and Paola, they are innovating possibly in their business areas, but not in their organization. Because the agile mindset means you have to give up in a certain way in the control of your teams, let them self-managing, while this is not the way usually our leaders act every day. So more or less, this is the summary of what we discussed so far.
Okay, thank you, Maria Elena. What about the other group? Sonia and Mabel. Sonia, you are on mute.
Okay. Oops. I'm innovative, but not digital, maybe. I mean, I'm so sorry. Okay. So, first of all, sorry for my English. So I'm more relaxed. With Mabel, we introduce ourselves in English. So we spoke less, maybe for that. So we introduce ourselves. Okay, we are in a different situation, we are facing different challenges, and that was, of course, interesting. We spoke more about individual situation about concerning innovation. I mean, as I said, I'm an innovative person, and
I cannot hear you, Sonia. I don't know, probably. I don't know if it's my connection or your connection, but I cannot hear you well.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Maybe it doesn't work very well.
Now I hear you. Can you just repeat what you said?
Okay.
Not to give you another challenge with your English.
Okay, thank you. But I try to speak in English. Okay. So we spoke more about individual challenging. In particular, we say that the most we are in two different situations. Mabel needs, in order to face new challenge, she needs to be forced I mean, she needs that someone force her, push her, yes, to face a new challenge and maybe to face the innovation and to kept the opportunity to be innovative. This is what I understood. So Mabel, sorry if it's not true. Please help me if it's not true. Okay, this is Mabel, and my situation is different because I have a lot of new ideas, but maybe I need someone that help me to put in practice the innovative idea. As I say, maybe I need a coach that helps me, okay, to be concrete. So not only to create some new ideas, but to be concrete. In terms of the block that people or organization can have, we discuss about maybe the fear of fail. So if you have to face a new an innovation idea or something new, maybe you can have.
It's a risk, yeah.
Yeah, it's a risk. And the second one is that you have maybe to push people to leave the comfort zone. Because usually we are in our comfort zone, and to be innovative, you have to leave it.
Yeah.
So I hope you understood.
I've understood, perfectly. So thank you very much for these initial thoughts. I would like to deepen this conversation on what blocks innovation and how to enhance innovation. So let me share again the screen, and we will continue. And by the way, if you have any question or comments that you want to make, just please stop me and please share. Otherwise, we'll have more time toward the end of the webinar. Oh, so where do we start? Let's start on the personal side. You mentioned fear, and fear is, we will see in a minute, that is one big part of it, that blocks to innovation. But let's say that in general, innovative thinking, like critical thinking, does not come naturally to most people. There is one reason why innovation is so hard. There are more, but this one, in the past 25 years of research in neuroscience and psychology, behavioral economics, and education, had demonstrated that we are highly efficient, fast, reflexive thinkers, but we seek to confirm what we already know. So it's part of our physiology. And as Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, I think, stated, laziness is built deep into our nature. So as a result, we are cognitively blind to disconfirming data and challenging ideas. And in addition, our thinking is limited by our tendency to rationalize information that contradicts our beliefs, and also by other cognitive biases. So in a nutshell, when we are on autopilot, we are not critical or innovative thinkers, we are confirmation machines. So to innovate, people have to take their normal thinking to a much higher level, and most of us have to be taught how to do that. Thinking differently is also hard emotionally. So many neuroscientists, including Antonio Damasio, believe that our emotions influence and are integrally intertwined in most of our cognitive processing. So in other words, emotionally, we seek to affirm our self-image, so our ego. And we tend to use the 3 Ds, deny, defend, and deflect, to ward off challenges to it and to our views of the world. And you mentioned this, fear is one of the emotions that come all too naturally to most of us, and makes it hard for us to engage in the messy work of innovation. Fear of failure, you mentioned, fear of looking bad, fear of losing our job if we make mistakes, especially in organizations where making mistakes is a big problem. So all these fears can lead to what Chris Aguirre called the defensive reasoning, so that the tendency to defend what we believe. So this makes it hard to get outside of ourselves in order to think out of the box. Let's also see what are the most common obstacles in organizations, so to organizational innovation. So most organizations establish order and discipline, that is a deep routinization of a significant part of the work that is required to produce today's products and services. So innovation, or doing new and different things, by its very nature destabilizes the organizational structure. So Peter Drucker and Levitz showed that most important task of the existing organization is to get today's jobs done. So rules, procedures, standards define what is to be done and how. And reflecting on his extensive experience with organizations, Levitz observed, let me read it. Allegiance to the daily task remains the predominant and inevitable focus. Within this powerfully constraining context, to focus as well on trying to get powerful innovations, meaning to do entirely new and therefore disruptive things, is an especially difficult and fragile undertaking. So moreover, in many workplaces, people do not feel safe enough to dare. So they don't necessarily feel that they can speak with candor up and down the organization. So can you tell your boss the truth? So innovation occurs best in an idea meritocracy. So in a culture when the best evidence-based ideas win. Often innovation is demanded only to one functional group, for example, the research and development, as if it was a specific task and not a company-wide expectations. And also the current organizational structures boost silos. So when collaboration decreases, and the same does to the opportunity for people to come up with new ideas. Studies mapping the social networks of organizations have found higher levels of creativity in groups that are more interconnected, particularly when creative and entrepreneurial individuals are a central node in those networks. Lack of diversity is also a big obstacle to innovation. And what remains clear, however, is that most companies are failing to adequately create an equal culture where staff of all ranks feel comfortable contributing new ideas. I found some data that are really interesting. 91% in UK, 91% of employees want to innovate, but just 34% in a typical UK company feel empowered too. So that is higher in the most equal companies, where 75% of the staff feel confident making suggestions, compared to just 5% of the least equal. And let's say the average companies, it would be 34%. So having said that, I would like to speak a little bit about how AEquacy can be an ideal organizational structure and operating model when it comes to supporting innovation. And there are 9 reasons to it. First of all, when a company embraces AEquacy's principles, then the employees are generally not strictly supervised and monitored around their productivity. So they don't feel the need to be busy to prove that they are doing a good job. So they have time to think. They have time to be curious, to read, to learn from different sources. Because innovation and busyness don't get along very well together. Another important part is the purpose and values. Purpose creates a culture that supports innovation. When people understand their organization's purpose and values, they are engaged and inspired to work together to promote those purpose and values. So employees who are engaged by a company's purpose are more motivated and willing to invest their time and their energy in developing new ideas. In AEquacy, when a company turns to AEquacy, the AEquacy model, there is a lot of work if they don't have a higher purpose to define one purpose, because this is a very important part of the shift from hierarchy to AEquacy. One of the cultural traits that AEquacy instills is the celebration of not just mistakes, but the learning stemming from mistakes. So this is very hard to find in traditional companies when managers put pressure on people to always succeed. And this makes mistakes more likely because, first of all, people who work under pressure are less effective. Second, people resist reporting bad news. So they don't say when there are bad news. And also people, in a way, close their eyes to signs of trouble. What else? Well, the design of the AEquacy organization that resemble a fractal with a particular focus on self-organizing teams, on the coordination structure, on the ongoing peer feedback. All this supports a very high level of collaboration, and collaboration is key to innovation. Two main elements make people in AEquacy organization empowered to innovate. The first is the distributed authority. That means that people are and feel empowered to try and test new stuff. Another important piece is the principle of safe enough to try. It's a principle in AEquacy. So this pushes people to experiment new ideas and propose innovative processes. In AEquacy, there are also several ways in which ideas are cross-pollinated. For example, there is the presence of dynamic roles that are specifically designed to cross-pollinate idea. The name of those roles are cross-link. So also there is the inclusion in a team's operational meetings of members of other teams when they could be impacted by the team's decisions. So within this meeting, the team allows people coming from the outside guests to share their thoughts and input on their proposals. So that increases the circulation of ideas and best practices. In AEquacy, people are also mindful that bureaucracy must be kept at bay. I'll share with you just one element as an example. We have the radical simplicity checklist. It's a checklist to verify that the process that it's about to be, for example, implemented or changed or upgraded is kept as simple as possible. And in general, processes are more simple in AEquacy because we don't have all these layers of managers who needs to supervise other people, who needs to supervise other people. So the processes are really much simpler. Another piece is the iterative design. So it's another principle that guides the people in AEquacy. So the iterative design is a cyclic design method, which I don't know if you know it, it allows for repeated processes or iteration rather than a single linear delivery. So I don't wait until everything is perfect to launch my product or my service or my idea or my new process. But I launch whatever is feasible. As soon as it's feasible and workable, I launch it and I receive feedback from my internal or external client. And with this feedback, I continue to work on the product. So using an iterative design approach means that you can improve your design with each iteration rather than aim for a perfect design with one single pass. And this gives the design team greater opportunity to solve issues or even make improvements that are otherwise missed. Last but not least, in the AEquacy environment, thanks to the focus on personal mastery, and also thanks to the role of the coach, which is present in each team, it's a dynamic role that rotates. Each team member will play the role of the coach at some point. People feel able to express themselves without fear that others will think less of them. So that translates to employees feeling comfortable speaking up, whether they're sharing ideas or asking questions or expressing concerns or acknowledging mistakes. And so this creates an environment where people feel comfortable being themselves and develops a climate, an environment that is characterized by interpersonal trust and mutual respect. And this doesn't mean that there is complacency. So people feel comfortable disagreeing with each other and know how to express their disagreement in a healthy way. So let me stop 1 second here. And I would like to know from you what stood out for you in this last 15 minutes. What is interesting for you? And is there anything that even if you don't adopt AEquacy in full, you can bring to any idea that you can bring to your company or your professional activity?
Hello.
Hi, Christina.
Hello. What sounds to me really with the strength to really change things and to obtain a better efficiency to the teams is the trust on the people, the trust on their capability of organize themselves. I feel this is true, but this is the most difficult thing to adopt. But there must be a different culture, the culture of the strength-based development of the people. So what do you know? What is your knowledge? What do you do best? This, yeah. Okay, let's leave the other things to others. So let's make your goals based on what you do best. So the team should be organized in this way. So yeah. Really leverage what the teams can do better, and in this way they will do good. And if they make mistakes, of course, I believe very much in this psychological safety, that there must be a way for the people to say loud what they fear, what they are not sure about knowing to do better or best. I don't know. So I think even if in the traditional organizations, there must be this much trust and on what people know, and know what they don't know and they need to improve. No, they need to do well what they know.
Yeah, exactly.
So the performance review is something I think we need to review as a...
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's very difficult for traditional organizations to send out messages of trust, and it's not it's not the managers, individual managers' responsibilities. We found out with Stefano, my business partner, when we did our research on hierarchies, the problem is a systemic problem. So the whole company, the whole hierarchy is organized on the assumption that people cannot be trusted. because otherwise, why putting, supervisors and, controllers and managers and authorizations? I was talking this morning with a person working for a pharmaceutical company. And we said, if you don't leave the autonomy to people to make the decision to, I don't know, spend 15 euros for a taxi, but you need, the authorization, you are treating your people like children. Now, we all in our lives, we make very tough decisions in our personal life. We go through illnesses, we go through, big changes in our life. We change our house, we make children, etc. And we don't need a supervisor in our normal life. But then we enter the organization, we become stupid. We need somebody to tell us what to do and how to do it. So, so it's very difficult, because even if in an organization based on the a vertical structure, you say, no, really, I trust you, the whole organization tells a completely different story. So it is organized and set up for distrust. Anyway, I really like the idea of making people play the role that they are more effective to. And I didn't go into detail, but for example, in AEquacy, we use dynamic roles, and it means that you don't have a steady job description that you keep forever and that nobody reads and nobody knows about it anyway. But the role is based on, there is a purpose of the role. So what is the higher, the reason why this role exists? There is let's say, the definition of the perimeter, where you have completely, full authority, and you can make decisions without asking anything to anyone. And then there is the list of accountabilities. And in these dynamic roles, one person can play more roles. For example, in AEquacy, in Asteris, I cover like 4 or 5 roles. And generally, some are roles that your expertise is the role that you are best of, as you said, Christina. And the others can be also roles that you have an interest in. So you want to develop yourself into a different role, and you can take the role. So it's very dynamic. So sorry for I continue to work to speak. Any other comments or input? And I promise I will stay silent.
I can tell you, I approached 2 years ago the design thinking idea, then moved to Agile. And as I was speaking with Paola and Christina, I shared that I'm currently going through the certification as Scrum Master, because I'm interested in the way, for my role, I'm finance, so I can be, let's say, involved in project implementation. What I do see in what you said is the other piece that was missing for me, that is how to transform an organization in the agile mindset. So the fact that you are including in project planning a Scrum framework does not help if you are not changing the culture of the company. So I think is absolutely essential. So for example, I was discussing with a person in team that was telling me that in team they tried to implement a group of Scrum, but in reality it's a completely, so they are working completely in isolation in respect of the rest of the company. It's a sort of pilot, Yeah. So it's not embedded in reality. And at the end, it risks to generate a discrepancy or a
disconnection.
Disconnection, yes. among the traditional group of people, continuing to work exactly as they did in the past, and these special groups of people that feel them strange, possibly in a positive way. So we are superstars.
Lucky ones.
Or the opposite, or completely isolated, no, from the rest of the company. So yeah, I think it's needed. So the type of service is absolutely needed.
Well, when we made this 2-year research before we designed AEquacy, we wanted to, have a better understanding of, we've been working with big organizations for 20 years, but we went into interviews with CEOs and did a lot of desk research. What we found out, especially with these programs like Agile, Scrum, or even leadership development, or even total quality a few years ago. The problem is that when you have a hierarchy, the hierarchy tends to refuse anything that is opposite to their thinking, their mindset. And so what happens with this kind of intervention is that if you, in the majority of cases, when a company implement Agile, for example, they only implement some tools, but they do not implement the whole idea, the whole philosophy. And so we find out that if you don't change the structure, it's very difficult to make this initiative work, because you only take one little piece, but then you don't use the whole power of that, of the whole philosophy. Also, but we have a very good example of the implementation of let's say the practices of AEquacy within one team in Nespresso. The HR team wanted to experiment AEquacy, so we didn't remove the boss, because within Nespresso, this was only one team and we could not impact on the whole organization. But we implemented the dynamic roles, the OKRs, the peer feedback loop. That means that they don't do performance review, they do continuous feedback from each member, and the feedback is public. So it's accessible to anyone, so everyone know all the feedbacks to everybody else. What else? I mean, a number of practices, also the management of the meetings with the consent decision making, which is a different way to make the meetings. And it was incredibly successful. The leader of the team play now as a peer of the group, because otherwise it would not work. But outside, when she meets their colleague or their boss, she is the leader, let's say. But within the team, she's not the leader any longer. The results are fantastic. They are collecting all the results to make a business case. But the very good news is that the leadership team observed this HR team. They are observing how better they are collaborating, they are innovating, they are, portano a terra I progetti. And so they started to implement some of the practices also in the leadership team. So when something works little by little, probably it will have success within the organization. Any other, sorry for the, my telephone is too far and I cannot go and shut it off. Any other comment or input before we finish?
Yes. No, while you were speaking, I was thinking about how difficult it is for organizations to anticipate facts. you know you're in a world, in a complex world. You know you cannot approach today's challenges with a simple approach. Problems are complex. Problems have many actors, have many causes, and I speak particularly from an experience working with the government. I mean, when you're working in the government, it is worse. It is worse in terms of complexity. Yeah. And you still think as an organization, as a ministry or whatever, that you can still approach those problems with the same tools, with the same processes, with the same institutional, traditional mechanisms. But the reality is shouting at you, no. So, but the way reality evolves is also slow. I mean, you don't have an explosion on the streets from one day to another. You can see these movements building up 2-3 years ago. So what is it mind that impedes to see that if you don't take complex problems with new approaches, the thing will explode? And that's what happened in Colombia. So what I like about AEquacy and other philosophies of working within organizations is that they start to talk about these new approaches within the organization, because change is something difficult and it's not something fast. Yeah, it's something, it takes time. I mean, it can take years. Yeah. So the first thing I thought was, why is it that you cannot see reality before your very eyes, and understand that it's better to prepare for those things than wait till people go to the streets and protest and express their full rage against the way you've been working. I mean, so better, and that's also applicable to the corporate world. Absolutely. I mean, what do you prefer? That you have to close within 2 months, or that you have prepared yourself to these changes? That's one thing. And the second thing is what you mentioned about giving the space to think is really important. I was in the meeting we had before, I was saying that I'm learning coding, because as I realized that I had to speak English, now I realize I have to speak the language of the machines, of technology. Yeah. And it's been very frustrating, because I think I'm an intelligent person, but I've been feeling like a fool, because it's a whole new language. It's very strange. So learning new things implies a lot of time and a lot of personal patience and strength. So I think that's very important about what you mentioned. That's it.
Thank you, Mabel. Thank you very much. So I would like to continue forever, but we are 2 minutes to 7. So let me only share some closing information for you. So please know that if you are interested, you can download for free our research on what are the practices of the organization of the future. And we did one in 2017, and then we repeated it a few months ago. And it's very interesting because with the COVID, certain things really changed for organizations. So you can download the report for free. The next AEquacy webinar will be on September the 23rd, and it will be around overturning bureaucracy, which is a very hot topic. I know that some of you have already registered for the AEquacy Taster as a workshop on June the 30th, where participants have the opportunity to really experiment what is the difference between working for an hierarchical organization and then working for an AEquacy organization. So if you are interested to have a try to this, and it's a very active and impactful workshop. It's only a few hours. Also, if any of you is interested in getting the certification for being a AEquacy facilitator, just let us know. The program will start, I think, in the next winter. So having said that, I'm really thank you for your participation in this webinar, and I hope to see you again in other webinars until the end of the year, and to meet you at the AEquacy Taster on June the 30th. So thank you very much. And if you have any question or comments, just drop me an email. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Ciao.